Warning, this podcast has some swears in it.
I'd rate it PG-13 at most, but let's just be on the safe side and say viewer discretion is advised. Time to raise your blades, heroes.
And check some vibes.
It's the Heroes Blade Vibe Check. Quinn, I swear you have to watch Arcane. You have to watch Arcane.
I've been hearing a lot of very passionate statements to the similar of people really enjoying Arcane. And I don't know, maybe I just could be listening to a podcast and playing a video game.
You gotta do it like, it's so big, right? It's 18 episodes. They're about 45 minutes long. You gotta like do an episode and then ruminate and be like, damn, that was a good episode. And then like a week later, you'll do an episode. They'll give you the quick recap. You're like, cool.
I will completely forget to watch more episodes if I do it like that.
Okay, fine. The only thing I will say is in terms of like writing and animation or everything, like it has its own style, like it has its own visual flair. Obviously it's very stylized as a cartoon, but if I had to say that the animation quality had to be compared to anything, it is to like the tier of what Spider-Verse is.
Oh, that's a pretty show or like movie to look at, so I'm sure the animation is very good then.
And then the story and blah blah blah. Like I will say, different people I've been chatting with, regardless of their relationship with League of Legends, good or bad, or just, mostly bad, they praise the ever-loving shit out of the show, and I have been thinking about nothing but that show since it ended. In, like, I've been playing the music, loaded it up on Spotify and everything, and I'm just like, damn, this thing is sweet.
Well,
but
damn,
yeah, if you never
it really had an impact on you.
Yeah, I just have like if people know, season 2 episode 7 has been basically repeatedly playing in my head. It is simultaneously the most amazing episode ever, but also the most hilarious because of like the interplay between two characters' scenarios. I can't go into people who know, and I can't tell you anything, but it's very funny where someone's like, oh, this is super great, and the other person's like, I'm in Silent Hill. Like, that is the level of, like, dichotomy going on between people. It's like if someone went to Innistrad, and the other person was, like, in Bloomborough.
Oh.
or I guess, like, if we're thinking about it, it's literally the Duskmorn Bloomborough, like...
That release season, yeah.
Yeah, like, you're like, oh, wow, look at this, cute animals, and everything's so nice and pretty. The other person's like, I need to run for my life, and I'm going to die. That's, yeah. Not going into the other features of the show. Anyway, another thing to note, in the same vein as quit wishing good health on my grandfather, he's too powerful, we can't stop him now.
Mm-hmm.
Can people please stop making Sire of 7 Deaths, like, super duper fucking expensive?
Yeah, that card is a $5 mythic rare at most in my heart, and I keep seeing $20+ price tags for that. What is going on here?
Apparently, with foundations around, apparently Reanimation is looking really good as like an archetype.
Yeah, I hear Reanimator's good, and then the Rescue Beastie putting free things into play. Sire of 7 Deaths seems like alright, but there's, the other cards available. Progenitus is in the set. I don't know, man. Fucking stop spending so much money on Sire of 7 Deaths so that I can have one for $5 like it should be.
Oh well, I guess we'll just have to wait and see in the next few weeks. But yeah, damn, Foundation's pretty dang good so far. A lot of fun.
Yeah, I've
Just to
actually been
see people
playing
be
like a
excited.
tiny bit of Foundations Limited. I won a
Yeah,
couple of the like play points giveaways, and I've been entering drafts with that. Having kind of a good time.
awesome. I have re-downloaded Arena with the hope of being able to get wild play Brawl to get coin, to buy packs, to get wild cards, to get jumpstart uncommon legends and run those in Brawl.
Jumping through mad hoops.
Well, or I just drop the cash, but like I really don't want to do that because it's Arena.
Yeah, I get it.
Um, um, but I am wanting to get Cleon, Mary Champion, and Ivora ready to go, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see. Um, and yeah, before we're just gonna go to a bit of upkeep. As a reminder, social media landscape is changing here and there. So Quinn has successfully moved to Blue Sky.
Oh yeah, I love how we recorded that episode and then immediately
Like the day after.
status of Twitter just like declined. Just so it fucking plummeted, gamers. The website got dramatically worse almost immediately afterward, and we just had to hop to the other website and see what was up.
And yeah, so far so good. I will have to. I think there's still some things I'm just not used to, like Blue Sky's layout in terms of just immediate visual feedback of like, all right, I am following a bunch of Magic people. What's everyone doing in Magic? Scrolls through for like 5 minutes, and I'm caught up. All right, I know I said that last episode, but I do want to reiterate. It's nice to just be like, and I'm in, and I'm out, and I maybe might want to take a look at some other tabs, and then I'm good. I'll make a post and I'll turn it off. So yeah, we're at Quinn's over on Blue Sky at the usual tag.
Mm-hmm. You know what's up, Girlic Energy.
Hit us up. You never know when your stuff might be showing up on the episode, being talked about. Like the comments we'll be getting to after we do some vibe checks. So Quinn, hit me with a vibe check.
Yeah, so shout out to Foundation's commanders, Arabo the First Fang. I think he passes the vibe check. Let's get this guy pulled up. OMG.
Good old Arabo. Oh, did I spell it wrong? I did spell it wrong.
Yeah, I did too. That's why it took so long.
The H before the B. All right, Arabo the First Fang. Go for it.
Okay, he's a 2/2 legendary cat avatar for 2 and a white. He says other cats you control get +1/+1, and whenever Arabo or another non-token cat you control enters, you create a 1/1 white cat creature token. This guy is a cat lord, but that doesn't mean he can't scrap. So give him the Hero's Blade, turn him sideways. He's a 3-drop, so he curves perfectly into the Hero's Blade, and opponents are going to have to answer that 5 power way before they're thinking they have to.
I've seen and heard a few stirrings about this Arabo, and this to say, the fact that it comes down so low and you could do like a mono white deck with all of your flicker effects on top of playing cats. Seems pretty good to just be like, I protect my Anthem, I will now have it enter and make another dude.
Yeah,
and it also happens
Cat's
to be a
aggro is a real deck. You can absolutely play that.
And then you gotta get the flavor in, you gotta play Claws out, the pseudo, like, cat overrun that's reduced by, like, the number of cats you have or whatever.
I'm sorry, what? That's a real card?
That is Quinn. You can't... Yes, that is, I swear to God, that's yeah, Claws out. 3 double white for an instant. It costs 1 last to cast for each cat you control. Creatures you control get +2/+2 until end of turn.
Oh wow, I bet that kills people.
That probably definitely does kill people. So yeah, no, the Arabo is sweet. I think Steel City Brad on the socials was talking about what you could do with it.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's the one I'm pretty sure it was him. last again, as usual, the last couple weeks for some various reasons is just a blur. Part of the last 2 weeks was taken up by Arcane and is still taken up by Arcane. So like that's where my brain's at, on top of like getting to play cards, be like, well, I'm at 306 games this year to date, so that's pretty good.
Oh damn, you're very close to 365.
We will not.
Not
you said that to me.
Entertaining it.
Yeah, you were like, Cole. I was like, hey, so update. This is the number I'm at. And you're like, maybe it could happen. And I'm like, no, let's not. We just talked about this with Andy. It's not gonna. If it happens, it happens, and that'll be super cool. But if it also doesn't happen, I'm not gonna sweat that either, because I'm already probably super duper crazy for getting nearly 365 games in the year. You know.
Not even going to talk about the number of games I've played.
Sweating in the corner, just like, yeah, that's crazy. Who would
play 300 plus games of Magic the Gathering? Haha. You'd have to be doing like nothing else.
Yeah. Speaking of cats, Snapdax Apex of the Hunt.
Oh yeah.
I
always forget Snapdax is also a cat.
Yes, it is a dinosaur cat nightmare. Hey everyone, you remember Ikoria, the very cool Monster Hunter world, kind of?
One of my favorite planes. I would love to go back there.
Please make more mutate spells for me, Watsy. So, Snapdax, 1 red, white, and a black for a 3/5 dinosaur cat nightmare with mutate for 2, a hybrid red-black and double white. It has double strike, and whenever this creature mutates, it deals 4 damage to target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls, and you gain 4 life. So that's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
It's a decent value. Now, the obvious thing is, if you are casting Snapdax as is, the Hero's Blade is just awesome, even with just double strike. We're in colors that give a bunch of some kind of evasion, like flying or menace or whatever, so we have options.
Mm-hmm.
The obvious trade-off is, if you don't have a legendary creature out and you don't have the Hero's Blade equipped, you do the mutate cost, and you're not really going to have Hero's Blade. So, very situational. If you do like a bunch of like, I guess, non-human legendary creature typal deck with Snapdax as the face, then like maybe. But I don't really see that happening. So
yeah, that kind seems like a big ask.
Yeah. So hesitantly say sort of, maybe, kind of.
Yeah, that makes sense. I could see that. If you were just playing like Mardu Mutate, though, there is a world where you play the Hero's Blade and you play Snapdax after that, and then start mutating other things.
Yeah. God, yes. Please, again, make more mutate. I want my Thanos the Toy Maker deck to come back with more mutate options. Because a lot of those were like beasts or birds.
Yeah, that's a creature type Sonocoria.
Pretty common. So this one was something Cody, a brew review, had been cooking up or had an idea about in the Legendary Creature Discord earlier today.
Oh yeah, dude was absolutely chefing up a storm in there, talking about Kolagon the Storm's Fury, a 3 black and red legendary creature dragon who's a 4/5 with flying, and whenever a dragon you control attacks, creatures you control get +1/+0 until end of turn, and you can cast it for its dash cost of 3 black and a red. And if you do, it gains haste, and it's returned from the battlefield to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. I'm signing all the way off on this. Kolagon enters, picks up the blade, goes back to your hand, puts down the blade.
Oh, hey, and from the same set. Let's fucking go.
I had forgotten that they were from the same set until that was pointed out, and then it's just like, oh shit, it's almost like they designed the cards to go together.
Yeah. Obviously, like, all the dragons were pretty overcosted during Fate Reforged, but because of the cons versus dragons situation, and we had the cycle of cons that obviously like would love to pick that thing up too. Yasova Dragonclaw especially.
Oh hell yeah!
But the dragons were also equally as prepared, and it's so funny to think about in retrospect. in the modern day Commander era, where up until like Duskmourn recently, or with Foundations as well, because they put all the legendary creatures in Jumpstart. It's just designed for Commander. Be Innistrad, Midnight Hunt, or Crimson Vow, and have 20 legends. Or 20 plus, right? Like 2 for every 2 color pairing, like that's obscene. That's an obscene amount. But we look back and look at Fate Reforged and be like, okay, baseline, there's 10 legendary creatures. Here's a Hero's Blade in limited. You're like, cool, I can get behind that. But yeah, one of the things that the brewing that was happening was that Cody's line of thinking was like, have Cultist of the Absolute be an example of the idea of making Kolaghan this hasty, evasive bomb that could be a Voltron commander. And with Cultist of the Absolute having an upkeep trigger of sacrificing a creature, well, if you just dash Kolaghan back to your hand, you evade that sacrifice thing. But when she comes down, she gets the +3/+3, the redundant flying, Death Touch, and Ward pay 3 life. So, pretty good idea. I like the line of thinking.
Yeah, I think Cultist is really smart there because you do just completely dodge any of the upkeep attacks.
Yeah. There were some other ideas we were throwing around, and obviously just in the context of like the deck discussion, it was just super cool to be like, maybe this is the home for like the Deadly Wanderings and Homicidal Seclusion enchantments, where if you only control exactly one creature, that creature gets +3/+1 or +2/0 and like lifelink and Death Touch or whatever.
Oh, sick.
But the obvious issue is like, what do you do to prevent any type of crackback? And that's where stuff like No Mercy and whatever comes in. And yeah, just in the context of just like having a Hero's Blade ready to go, seemed pretty neat. And we were like, yes. First of all, one of the things I have absolutely loved and adored over this last year of us doing the podcast is more and more people are believing in our cleave. That is the Hero's Blade.
Yeah.
And we're getting shout outs here and there, we're getting mentions here and there. People are like, I have seen the light and have put a Hero's Blade in my deck. And we're like, yes, thank you very much for your consideration and for listening to the podcast. And now go forth, my child, and yeah. I've been like last night I was playing a deck with a Hero's Blade in it, and I'm like, damn, I wish I got it sooner. But you know what? I'll make it work. And I was playing Ivora, and it was, yeah. I was like, she died. Cool. Play Ivora. We're back in business, But yeah.
Yeah.
So Cody, we salute you. We wish you good luck on this Kolaghan, the Storm's Fury brew. That dragon won me a pre-release. I went 4-0 at the Dragons of Tarkir pre-release, and because of the block structure back then, you would get packs from the small set to complement it. So we got Fate Reforged. And so I opened a promo Foe Razor Regent, which was the 7-mana
dragon.
Yeah, it's a 4/5. It's got flying. When it enters, you fight something, and then your end step, your creatures that fought that turn get 2 +1/+1 counters.
Oh wow.
So you're like, cool. So I probably maybe kill something, and I have a flying 6/7 at the end of the turn. Great. Then I opened another one.
Okay.
And then I opened Kolaghan, and I was like, okay.
Ooh.
What are we cooking here? And now I couldn't tell you if there were any other dragons that I had. Like, maybe I had one of the Mana Dork dragons that become a dragon if a dragon enters or whatever. But I had like, God, I can't remember what it was called. It was like this 4-mana 4/1 with vigilance. It was like a tree folk or something. And that was also like the bomb. So I would swing out with these 4/1s, and people were like, oh shit, I gotta block that. That's like 4 damage. And I was playing Jund, so I had to Jund him out. So that one would die, and then like the next turn I'd play like Kolaghan or something, and and they also had ramp. Like they had like 3-mana ramp, get to basic land or whatever. So I was like ahead. And then it'd be like, cool, so here's Kolaghan, and then here's a Foe Razor Regent, and they're like shitting bricks. They're like, what the fuck? This dude's playing bombs above curve, like it's crazy. And then they're like, cool, I'm gonna kill that foe Razor Regent. I'm like, damn. All right. Okay, I'm gonna cast my other foe Razor Regent. And they're like, oh fuck, dude. And then I turn Kolaghan and them sideways, and then they'd get the +2/+0 because both dragons are attacking, and people were like, well, I guess I just die then.
Yeah.
So that was the only time I ever had a bomb-ass sealed pool where I went 4-0 and I could never ride that high again, but I was so glad it was in Dragons of Tarkir. It was so cool.
That sounds like such a magical experience. Oh, man, I wish.
But yeah. Those were the days. Good thing we're going back to Tarkir, I guess.
Yeah, I'm excited to, I don't know, crack open fetch lands again. Is that a thing that we did back then?
Well, we can only hope that after they completely fucked up Murders at Karlov Manor and not put Shocklands in the set, but they had Surveillance, so, we'll give them a pass.
You have got to stop treating it like it's a Ravnica set, and so we have to have Shocklands or whatever.
Yo,
it's
you're
detective
right.
Episode.
It's the fancy hat of the month set as yeah. Oh, Kellen. Mono Red Kellen in Foundations. What a card.
Do we want to pause to talk about Mono Red Kellen?
Okay. Well, I mean, we gotta. So even I was like, I might want to like brew that Mono Red Kellen because there's something about like the level up design that was kind of appealing, and I'm like, it's a 1-mana 2/1. All right.
Yeah, he's
Kellen
got
Planner
a fucking
Trailblazer.
sauce on him.
So first of all, he passes the vibe check, but you gotta like sequence that shit out. No big deal. So we got a 1 red mana 2/1 human fairy scout that says pay 1 and a red. If Kellen's a scout, it becomes a human fairy detective and gains whenever Kellen deals combat damage to a player. Exile the top card of your library. You can play that card this turn. Neat. 2 and a red. If Kellen is a detective, it becomes a 3/2 human fairy rogue and gains double strike. So there is this very weird, interesting push and pull of being able to flip between the two modes. Because it is a detective and a scout. So you're able to flip between the 3/2 version and the 2/1 version, depending on like if you want the card advantage or if you want the double strike. It's so weird because I think you can actually deal first strike damage and then transform it to the other one and deal normal damage.
I don't think that works like that. I think it's just a one-way transformation. I don't think he keeps the scout creature type. He just becomes a human fairy detective. It doesn't say he's still a scout.
Oh, no, it overrides the existing creature type.
Yeah.
So, interesting. And you can activate abilities regardless of what creature type he currently has. But okay, so you just weirdly mana sink. All right. So anyway, yeah, okay, maybe not. Anyway, it's very interesting to have sort of like this weird like one-drop commander that has like a ceiling of getting double strike depending on like it's just a neat throwback to each of his versions. But at the same time, it's like there's just so many little buttons to press and be like, what are we going to do today,
I've been playing it a bit, and it is interesting to decide when you're going to push the button and when you're going to cast the spells that you have in your hand, because he gets that ability and then exiles cards like after you've dealt combat damage, so you're just like, do I activate this ability and then go to combat and exile something that I can't cast because I tapped out to cast this guy and play the ability and give him haste and all that? It's just like, what am I going to do? And also I have all of these knives. Where do I fit in the equip on that? And you kind of just have to mono red intuit that. I don't know how else to like describe it or whatever. It is entirely vibes based, but when you get the vibes right, you do have an impactful body that you put knives on and keeps you in the game, late game. Like, I feel like if you have a bunch of knives and you've just cast Kellen, like, don't bother activating the thing. The keywords and stuff that you're going to get from the knives that you have are more impactful than sinking.
Yeah, they're more than enough, yeah.
So you just, like, it really just, like, read the situation, and you'll know in your heart the best course of action.
But yeah, I currently have one of the alt arts stuck somewhere in Canada because Canada Post is on strike, and I'm just like,
damn, my
look,
biggest energy swords up to the postal workers.
Get your bag.
100%.
I can wait for cards. I'm still just gonna be sad about it a little bit.
Yeah, we are saluting tearfully.
But yeah, that Kellen, much to think about.
Yeah, I think once one of those arrives, definitely give that a try. I would like to see your play on it, or your take on it.
I'll have to take apart another mono red deck. I am pushing my luck. All right. But we're not done yet. We have more vibe checks.
Yeah, Lenny wanted us to review the Marvel Secret Lair Legends for vibe checks, so let's get into it.
Yeah, so we were playing the other night, and he's like, Cole, I need you to do me a favor. I'm like, yeah, what's up? He's like, I need you to give me a vibe check on all of this of all the legends from that Secret Lair. And I'm like, okay. Right. So, in no specific order, we're gonna start with fucking Captain America First Avenger. Does he pass the vibe check? Absolutely.
Yeah, I would sign off on that.
As it turns out, the Excalibur memes are no fucking joke.
Yeah, that is just like 4 to each opponent every turn if you want.
It is shocking. It was like, I was like, oh man, what's the worst that can happen? And then like 2 of your creatures are dead and you take damage to the face and you're like, nope, actually this is probably the worst situation.
And then they re-equip it mid-combat because they've got some ability that lets them do that.
Yeah, I'm like,
and throw it again or
I'm
whatever.
Like, this fucker's got vigilance from the sword. He chucks the sword like a fucking Legend of Zelda fucking boomerang. Smokes 2 dudes, slaps me in the face, the sword comes back, and then he just fucking cleaves my head off. Like, yep. What the fuck? But also, just in terms of having a 3-mana 4/4 getting +3/+2, like, is he gonna pay 3 to like chuck the Hero's Blade? Like, I don't know, because it's only 2 damage.
You've probably got better knives to do that with.
But in terms of shoring up the, like, oh, I unequip the equipment that I'm throwing, what's gonna happen? Nah, you're still a fucking 7/6. You don't give a fuck.
Yeah. Extremely sweet card, Captain America. Very real memes. Be on the lookout. Don't get caught slipping. You will. He's gonna get you.
You abrade that Excalibur every fucking time. And if you can kill Captain America, you will be a legend, alright? Just fucking do it. Save. We want you to save your friends at the commander table from the menace that is Captain fucking America First Avenger. Black Panther Wakandan King. I'm gonna say but no. But not really.
Yeah, I was thinking that it is a deck that wants to have creatures entering the battlefield. If he or any of them are legendary, then it doesn't seem like a bad idea to put that in there. Also, he has First Strike, which is just really annoying to attack into. Mm-hmm. So if he's like a 5/4 and you're swinging into that and he's got First Strike, you have to respect that.
But it feels like, excuse me, I'm trying to munch in the background here because I need to sustain myself. Feels very much more like your typical landfall / lands matter deck. Animate your lands, attack people, everything. It's just, it depends on how you go about it, but I just think in terms of like sequencing and what the end goal is that like, you probably are going to take the Hero's Blade out for something else that's more relevant to your strategy.
Yeah, it all depends on how you're trying to achieve your goals with this deck.
Yeah.
Iron Man, Titan of Innovation. I'm saying absolutely. He's a legendary guy who wants to be attacking, so he's going to pick up the blade and be impactful with that. And
I mean, look,
then you can sacrifice it for another blade.
Yeah, we got Crom as like a partner in the command zone that is also a 5-mana 4/4 with flying and haste, and it can also like draw you cards. So the obvious answer is, yeah, obviously Iron Man in this case with Flying in Haste, getting Hero's Blade is like a no-brainer. But it's the fact that you got to make a treasure and then you go birthing pod for your next tier of mana value. And I got to play against an Iron Man deck the other day. My buddy Imran did it, and it was just like every time you're just like, fuck, there's just so much utility.
Mm-hmm.
The only good thing, obviously, is that like the weakness of Iron Man being an artifact creature by design is great. So you're like, I could get rid of the artifact you're getting, but I could also just like nip that shit in the bud.
Yeah. The other thing you can do if you're a real rude bitch is come through with the Ashiok that's just like no searchies. And their whole strategy is like, okay, well now you have to draw into your knives. I hope you packed a card draw package.
Yeah.
I played against an Iron Man that was River put that together. And it was built around Marina Vendrill's journal. So we're just like, Iron Man,
oh yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
Deck. It was extremely sick.
I didn't know that we needed Iron Man to get the Darkhold, but it do be kind of sick when Iron Man becomes a Lich. That's kind of fucked up and weird, but I like it.
Yeah.
God, River had so many cards. Like, there was just so much shit happening. I'm like, River can't keep getting away with this. And they were like, actually, I can.
I cannot believe I completely forgot about Alhamret's archive in the context of Lich decks. Like, that is fucking bananas.
It's gas. It's just fucking gas. Oh.
Yeah.
You gain that much life, you gain double. If you would draw a card, you draw that many, you draw another additional card.
Rapidly spirals out of control.
You're like, oh wait, and do you have Labman and or Oracle out? You better fucking get ready to just lose that fucking game on the spot. Brutal. But yeah, anyway, Iron Man A+, yes. Storm Force of Nature.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say yeah.
She's got 2 relevant keywords of Flying and Vigilance. She becomes a 6/6 on when she enters. I mean, she's 4 mana, so like whatever. You're playing green, you play Hero's Blade, you play her, so you already got a 6/6 behemoth of like an absolute monster, and like, you know, she is because she's like an Omega level class mutant or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But like, you know, I feel as if in this case, despite the fact that you do want to be storming off doing whatever the fuck, you want her to get in there to be able to do the storm thing anyway, so yeah, no brainer. Slap it up.
Yeah, I think there's
check.
a version of this where you play like Artifact Storm instead of Instance and Sorcery Storm, because it's just so easy to get the like prices of artifacts down to like 0 and have them draw cards and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And you can just have like a couple of key tutors to find your very impactful spells to have given Storm. And then you just, I don't know, like Hero's Blade is an artifact. You're Metal Storming. Seems like not like the worst thing you can do.
Well, no, but she only cares about instant sorceries.
Oh, she cares about Storm, like you're giving a thing Storm. So
right.
You use that to run the Storm count up. And then
right. Okay, yeah. You use that as a conduit. Yeah, I see your point. Yeah, and there's just all the instant sorceries that care about artifacts in some way, shape, or form, whether it means like tutoring them out or making them or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, much to think about.
Much to think about, indeed.
And then finally, and not so surprisingly, Wolverine. Best there is.
Fucking absolutely.
Holy fuck. I mean, look, he's got knives coming out of his hands, so like that's a no fucking brainer. But like, I think probably the one thing is just the first line of text reading double all damage Wolverine will deal. So having a 5/4 just start cleaving people apart. Yeah. No shit. On curve, Hero's Blade on 2, Wolverine on 3. Logan is just going to be absolutely murderizing everything.
Completely unreal.
I have been on, again, I can't remember who it was. It was someone in the Legendary Creature Discord who ran Wolverine and Captain America back to back. And both times I was like, holy fucking shit. These commanders are fucking so stupid strong. And Wolverine being like, cool, so I cast a fight spell and then Wolverine does double damage, and then put a +1 counter on him, and I'm like, it's time to be afraid.
Yep.
Like yesterday. This shit is so gas.
And the Wolverine Fight Club deck is extremely real.
I was thinking about a Gimli Mournful Avenger fight deck, but I don't know if I got the guts, you know?
Yeah, I feel it.
But I also already have a mono green Fight Club deck. It is what it is. So, that is the vibe checks. Lenny, thank you for the idea. Very topical and of the moment. Let's go into community comments. We got some stuff from Blue Sky. A little bit busy this week, and some of it's just not even prompted. Imaginary Fiend, who gave us the lovely Ozox and the super fucking awesome token. I can't remember what the fucking name is, but the token with the Hero's Blade was just super fucking sick.
Oh, Jumble Bones.
Jumble Bones, thank you. That was fucking super awesome. So Imaginary Fiend hits us with this. Tag says, here's my vibe check. Got me seeing aggro in new places. So here's the flip Tamiyo card draw beatdown where the Simic bullshit actually closes out on games. Of note, Tamiyo kind of passes the vibe check, but mostly it's Kellen or Toothley wielding it unless you really want to slow roll it. To which then we got a Architect list of Tamiyo Inquisitive Student backed up with Teferi, Toothy, Prof's Eidetic Memory, Ledger Shredder, Hero's Blade, obviously, like Body of Knowledge, Chasm Skulker, Pure, Inquisitive Rascal, and so on. And it is a very, very cool stacked list.
Oh yeah, we are really out here killing people with card draw.
Yeah, no, this is I am very much a of two minds when it comes to Simic, but you kind of won me over with playing Tamiyo and also putting Hero's Blade in it, so awesome. I'd love to play against this at some point. You know, there's an Academy manufacturer in there, so, you know, it loses a couple points, but, you know, it is what it is. But I do see Akiri Emergent Intelligence, and that, I'm curious of the tech for that. I'm curious. But yeah, Imaginary Fiend, thanks for submitting that. What did Nick say here for this next bit?
Yeah, from Nick at Plaid first. Congratulations on 1 year. Thanks, babes. Second, it's 2024 and Andy Flory is still talking about stickers. Loved the episode, and for the record, I'm on team mismatched basics. And Andy also says, also talking about Noyandar in 2024.
Look, Noyandar players want any crumb imaginable, and, you know,
and Wizards is like, this is a Simic thing now, sorry.
Unfortunate. But yeah, so I do, like, I just make so many decks, or sometimes I just have brews that I'm not sure if they're going to stick around or not, but they usually stick around for, like, at least 6 months. And then you just put whatever basic land into it. But if I could, and had, like, the unlimited budget to, like, have whatever basic land, I would probably just make them all, like, the same or similarly themed, you know? But that's just me.
Yeah, you can already see what I do in all of the decks that I have. We try and match those basics.
So this was a question we put out on Blue Sky. Is there anything exciting going on with y'all with Foundations? Are there any new decks that have worked out or tickled your fancy? Has there been anything that hasn't worked out for you? Obviously, this is a little more open-ended, but, you know, Foundations is current. But then Nick came in again.
With the new saying passes the vibe check. More likely to survive in combat and can pass the knife to Scion. She doesn't lean towards any specific direction, which is refreshing, but somewhat difficult to build around. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Kiora the Rising Tide, 2 and a blue for 3/2 Merfolk Noble. I guess she's nobility. That's okay, new to me. When she enters, you draw 2 cards, then discard 2 cards. Cool. I love Faithless Looting in blue. Then she has Threshold. Whenever Kiora attacks, if there are 7 or more cards in your graveyard, you may create Scion of the Deep, a legendary 8/8 blue octopus creature token. Yup. We do love the doubling of stats on the ETB on curve into the Hero's Blade. Making her booty even more swole than it already is.
All right.
Okay. But yeah, the fact that it's like, all right, here's the upgrade. Here's an 8/8 Kraken, and you just
I think it's so funny when a commander summons a token that is way beefier than them and ends up being the main vector by which you deal damage. They're like Pokemon trainers to me, and I think I saw that on Twitter somewhere. But like, yeah, that's extremely cool, Kiora, and Kiora giving her big guy a knife. Hell yeah, great mental image.
I'm sad to see her lose green, but I think we can work with a mono blue Kiora. She's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I think gamers will figure it out, and it's not like off the table that she'll ever pick up green again.
No. But you know what? Hey, I'm also still just happy to see her around. I think for whatever reason, when Theros came out, and I was still very much on my Simic bullshit back then, because that's when Prophet of Krufix came out in the same set, same block and everything.
Boo.
Boo. Play with powerful magic cards that is a combination of fucking whatever. Just give all your shit haste, or give all your shit flash, and untap all of your lands on each upkeep. Like, what the fuck? But I don't know what it was, but I was like, cool, there's a Merfolk Planeswalker who has, like, this very stubborn tendency that also seems kind of like red. And then she just continuously gets her shit fucked, like, every time. She tried interrupting Jace for some reason when they were trying to bind the Eldrazi, and then he just counterspelled her, and the description was like, the screaming of a player who just got counterspelled at a crucial moment, or like whatever it was. It was just like, this is very funny. This is very just to understand how frustrated she is. As to why she did that, God fucking knows. She was definitely very green, and in the quote unquote like dumb green big stumpy player Timmy moment where she's like, cool, I'm gonna fuck up your shit, and Jace said, lol, I'm out counterspell. She's like, no. But yeah. Always fun to see her come back in some capacity. I just don't know what they might end up doing with her in the future. But, you know, she got D-Spark, so they might not do anything.
Yeah, who knows? Looking forward to finding out.
But Nick had a follow-up to this statement. He says, Progenitus doesn't pass the Hero's Blade or Cole 5-color check. Correct. But it's $1, so now we ball. Yeah, the power creep of Progenitus is obviously one thing. The price drop of Progenitus is another, but also getting a Progenitus for $1 seems like pretty damn great.
Yeah. Also, shout out to Carson, who has a air quotes Progenitus Voltron deck that can and will Voltron damage you the fuck out.
Very cool. Very interesting. Before we go on to Charlotte's, what the fuck are they calling it on Blue Sky? I'm gonna call it a post, but like they were calling it skating or whatever, and everyone's like,
we're not doing that.
No, we're not doing it. It was pointed out to me recently from a friend of mine, Andy, who is a very interesting brewer. One of his favorite decks in paper and playing it on Arena as well, is a Haktos deck. But the problem with Haktos, obviously, is that the whole Achilles heel thing of getting protection from 2, 3, or 4 mana at random. But one of the things that he learned and was fiddling with was indirect ways of giving keywords to a creature that can't be targeted by some of these spells. So one of his tricks was casting Ride Down. It's a red and a white. It was originally on Eldritch Moon, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Destroy target blocking creature. Creatures that were blocked by that creature this combat gain trample until end of turn.
Oh, sick.
So basically, as with most things about Arena, which I like, is sort of like the testing ground, is like taking a very unconventional or unusual commander in a 1v1 environment and seeing what works and what doesn't. And I was like, that is super sick, spicy tech. And then I also know that like whenever I'm gonna see a Haktos on the opposite side of the battlefield with Andy, I'm gonna be like, better fucking watch out for this guy. He's gonna get my ass with that stuff.
Yeah, you're gonna get hit with the rod down.
So hey, you want your Progenitus to have trample? That's the way you do it.
Yeah, Carson used his finest hour to give it double strike and an extra combat to just one-shot you.
That is fucked. Unbelievably fucked.
It's sick.
All right. So Charlotte hit us with this.
Yeah, she's playing the new Judith and making imps and sacrificing imps and dealing burn damage. I thought that card was interesting, but man, given instants and sorceries, Death Touch is pretty good, eh?
Yeah, it's pretty damn good. I'm very shocked and surprised that they made that. Like they made they're like the difference between Judith 1.0 and this one is like super fucking huge. And the fact that Charlotte went this route, I'm super thankful for, because I'm like, oh, thank God that you're like choosing the strictly worse half to do like a whole bit around it. I also just like obviously like there's probably at some point where you're like, yeah, I need to like give this random ass spell like Lightning Helix plus, you know.
Yeah, she does have a couple of like 1 damage sweepers to like every once in a while clear things out or whatever. But for the most part, it looks like the deck is focused on making these imps and sacrificing these imps, which seems pretty sweet.
Also, God, Cosmotronic Wave.
Yep.
Love that shit. Very cool. So yeah, thank you everyone as usual for reaching out to us, sharing your stories, sharing your decks, giving us some vibe checks. Love that. As usual, hit us up on the socials, hit us up on YouTube, hit us up on Spotify, or just, like DM us and be like, hey yo, check this shit out. Let's move on to content. And this, goddamn, it was months ago. But Quinn and I were on a recent episode of Am I the Bullcast? To which then we asked the question, is light stacks like, can we have light stacks as a treat? Where are we the bolus?
As it turns out, not the bolus. We're absolved of all guilt if I play.
No, Quinn, you were doing the exact opposite. You're supposed to not tell them what the result was.
Oh, I don't care.
I said, I am the bolus, and Mike's like, no, you're not supposed to do that. I'm like, but I gotta let people know that I think I'm the villain. And then they're like, no, you're not the villain. Yeah, no, fun time, super fun time. That was a great episode. We were glad to be a part of that.
Yeah, check that out. It's a great time.
Mike Carosa, aka Mark Carbanza, asked the question.
No, dude, he's not doing that.
No, I know he's not doing it anymore. I'm sorry. I know it just happened for so long. It's hard to get rid of it. Can we talk about like the other thing, like the thing that's going to be coming up at some point, maybe possibly in the near future, that you were a part
of? Yeah, if you watch the most recent episode of Shuffle Up and Play on the Tolarian Community College YouTube channel, you can, when you get to the end, check out the Next Time on Shuffle Up and Play section, where perhaps you see someone you recognize. Yeah, keep your eyes peeled. Check that out.
Yeah, after watching an absolutely chaotic as fuck episode of Shuffle Up and Play,
Boros
and then I'm like, no, hold on, come on, because I heard some stuff, and then I was like, but who's the next people? Anyway, next episode looks like it's also gonna be fucking sweet. Very exciting stuff. And then for this, just for kind of other stuff that I've been thinking about recently or reading, it's been a hot minute since we really talked about Kristen in any meaningful capacity. We'll mention an article here and there, but recently as I don't know what it's been, and I say this like she's been on fire recently, and I swear to God, like it's felt long, like the last half of the year has just been like she's been making article after article after article after article, and I'm like, give me that shit, give it, I want it.
Hell yeah, I'm good at that writing thing.
So yeah, the last 5 articles in particular have been bangers, and I'm happy to say that Odric Bloodcurse got a shout out in the underrated commanders article from Innistrad. So go check those out. We got auras are awesome when nobody board wipes.
So true, bestie.
It's very true. 5 underrated commanders from Innistrad. Bloodrick was on the list, so that was great. Why can combo decks and commander feel unfulfilling? I think the exact same thing. So this article was made for me specifically.
Yeah, that one in particular gives a good insight onto why gamers feel the way that they do about certain play patterns.
Protection on creatures in commander wins games. This is true, and we're getting more and more and more tools, and also redundancy, and just like step dodging removal and all that other stuff.
But also the removal is getting better to match, so balance in the force.
The give and the take, the push and the pull. Galadriel's dismissal, good on both fronts.
Disciple of Chaos Min, big salutes.
And then the recent article that just came out, I think like today or yesterday, Foundations was the best set of the year, and it wasn't close. To which that, yeah, I just kind of agree with that. That just feels true.
I think I liked a lot of sets this year.
Yeah. So yeah, if you do not know the Queen of Blades, you should read one of her articles. She's very cool, and her articles are great.
Yeah, get in there, educate yourself.
All right, let's move on.
Hell yeah, decks and vibes.
Let's start with you.
Okay. I have been on my hashtag cute core shit again, this time with Otter Owling Mine, and the commander is Alania Divergent Storm. I can just click this, Lamau. Moxfield, don't do me like this.
I love when technology works, but then it doesn't.
Yeah, we're just being asked to sign in.
Oh no, Moxfield kicked you out. I can't believe this.
Truly tragic.
Jeez.
All right, well.
I mean, you know what the deck is. You made the deck.
I do know what the deck is. There's a lot of cards in Magic the Gathering Commander deck. Cole, I don't know if you know, but this is actually a 100-card singleton format, which means you're not allowed to repeat any of the cards in the deck besides basic lands.
This is true. This is fact, yeah.
Which means I'm looking at 60-something unique cards.
On average, typically. I mean, like, I hope you see a lot of basics, but, like, yeah, about, like, 70 or 80% of your deck is going to be, like, a specific card, yeah. I spy a Lutri on this list.
Yeah. Okay, this loads. All right. Hang on. Okay. Fuck, that took entirely too long. We're good. Oh, goodness. Okay, so... gamers, Otter Owling Mine is real. I sat here with myself and was thinking, what if, because Alania says whenever you cast a spell, if it's the first instant spell, first sorcery spell, or the first otter spell other than Alania that you've cast this turn, you may have target opponent draw a card. If you do, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. So she already gives all of your spells, like gift an opponent a card, fork the spell. And I thought, if I'm already giving them cards anyway, what if the spells that we're forking are symmetrical card draw spells? So I'm on bullshit like Party Jace and Prosperity, who's actually like a one that you can fork. We've got Minds Aglow and Fascination and Skyscribing. We're all just like, everyone's gonna draw. Everyone's going to draw a bunch of fucking cards and have a really big hand size. And those are all sorceries. so that when I cast the next spell, like Instance, I can do something like Gaze of Adamaro or Runeflare Trap to deal damage to those players for the number of cards in their hand and fork those spells. And so we just play the same old Empress Quinn bullshit. Force cards into your opponent's hands, punish them for having cards in their hands. We have the Howling Mine, we have the Ebony Owl Netsuke, we have the... I tried to play a lot of different hand size burn spells this time, which is why I'm on Gaze of Adamaro. I actually have a foil copy of that in my binder because I collect this effect.
Yeah. Hello, come see my wares, opens the trench coat. It's just Gaze of Automaro back to back to back. And on this side, you have Runeflare Trap.
We're also on Corvat's Fury for that. We've got Molten Psyche, which is a new one. I hadn't played that yet.
Oh, Quinn!
Yeah.
Yes! Finally!
This one actually goes fucking sicko mode if you fork it, because your opponents have already drawn those cards previously. So when you do it again, you're stacking that on top of the card draw from the previous spell. And in the correct circumstances, you just fucking delete players. It's unreal. We did also put cards like Jessica's Will in this deck, and the I don't have Rousing Refrain in here. We should do that too.
Yeah,
so
no,
I can,
you gotta
like,
get that shit in
if
there.
I'm
for sure.
forcing cards into your hand, I'm gonna take advantage of having a bunch of cards in your hand and get my cut. I've got the Sword of War and Peace in this deck because it also does the Runeflare Trap thing, and we're on Fevered Visions, which I don't usually play. I think, or that's in my Enchantments Owling Mine deck.
I mean, because like dealing 2 damage on end step like doesn't seem like super crazy, but if you start adding all these accumulative effects together, like it's obviously going to add up. And like, what the fuck did I do with my version of Fever Visions? I have no idea. I don't think I've had that card for years, but always one I'm thinking about.
Yeah, gotta get you another copy of that then. Another big win condition thing that we're on is Vicious Shadows. I do think this one is a lot stronger in my Devil's Owling Mine deck because I can just like sacrifice my shitty little 1/1s and force the issue. But otherwise, you can just play this and then people are gonna either die by creature combat or block and die by Owling Mine damage. And that feels extremely cool and satisfying to me.
I do love me some Vicious Shadows. I love that fucking card.
Yeah, I had a extremely big turn playing this, I think last weekend, where I had cast a Jessica's Will and a Path of the Pyromancer on the same turn by overloading a Mizzix's Mastery. So I'm casting these things from my graveyard. I'm making just metric fuck tons of mana. I'm seeing a bunch of cards, and then we go and just like put all of that into other spells to cast more spells. We end up casting that Molten Psyche on that turn and just like deleting a player and getting another player very close to death. And we ended up losing that game because they were at 7 cards in hand, and I had 3 copies of Ebony Owl Netsuke, and they had enough that they would have died there, except I'm like, all right, give it to me straight. How many instants do you have in your hand? Because if it's enough to dodge the owl, then you win this game. And they're like, do you really want to know? I've got 3. I was just like, all right, well, you got me. Well played. Yeah, we had a great fucking time on that. A way that this can go wrong, though, is if you're playing against a green deck or anybody who's got the like extra land drops, or a way to just like like the low curve kind of decks that can just cast all of these spells that you're feeding them.
Like, and get to like Hellbent like pretty quick.
Yeah, I was playing against Faldorn deck in particular, who shout out to Bert, had like I think 4 extra land drops available to him at any one time. So I'm just like shoving all of these cards into his hand, and he's just like, great, I'm gonna play a land, play a land, play a land. Here's all of these spells. I'm down to like 4 cards in hand, and I'm just like, fuck, I am never gonna get you with the owl, and none of my hand size burn is gonna mean anything. So yeah, you gotta be careful about the metagames that you're playing this kind of strategy into. But it's a lot of fun and is a real deck that you can have a good time playing.
No kidding. And like the other thing too, I one of the things that I do like about having redundant deck effects but in different color combinations is seeing if you take a color out of the equation, what can you add in to compensate or change things up?
Mm-hmm.
Or like, like this isn't too different, you're still in Is It, you're still in the Grixis Mean Girls wheelhouse, but
Yeah, I just
it's
don't
just
get
a different
Obnixilis or
flavor.
Underworld Dreams or Price of Knowledge, which are all really heavy hitters for this strategy. You really just have to like flex your knowledge of ways to take advantage of hand sizes of your opponents and play different cards. And it's a fun exploration.
And then you end up with 3 clue decks like me.
Yeah, it do indeed be like that. Speaking of decks, what you got for us?
So, I misunderstood the assignment that Andy gave. I was meant to make a Mardu Cube deck, and instead I just made a Mardu deck instead.
Whoops.
I made a Snapdex deck. It was something that's been on my brain recently because of just how often it got mentioned in the Legendary Creature Discord. And so I went out of my way to get the alternate art cartoony looking version. I don't know what frame is that called? I can't remember. And also I've been like wanting to make another
I actually
Mardu deck
have
in a
no
while.
idea what the showcase frame on that plane was called.
Because it was definitely not the Godzilla one. So
I think we
you
just
know,
called it the comic book art.
I mean, this is the closest equivalent, like in terms of style and aesthetic and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, so Snapback's been on the brain last little bit. I really do like Mutate as a concept. I think there's still some like gameplay challenges you kind of need to jump through to like justify having like a pile of 3 or 4 cards on it, but like you still only have like a 6/6. The difference is it has like a boatload of abilities or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Fine, I can work with that, And while Sultai arguably got the better chunk of Mutate pieces, and let's just be real, they definitely did. It doesn't have a bad suite, but I did not. I didn't. I think I tried putting like 2 Mutate cards in, and I only ended up doing like the bad. Honestly,
I think that not Snapdax, but like Mardu in general has just as good of mutate cards as Sultai did. It's just that the game plans that they are asking you to play are extremely different. And if you're not wholly committed to the go wide aggro and also having a boss monster in charge of that, then the Mardu isn't going to work out as well for you.
Yeah. Now I haven't exactly like all of this stuff was made out of my current collection. I haven't exactly figured out the mana base or like the lands yet, but it is like pretty easy to do. I do have all the non-land all the non-land cards, and that's fine. I think just in general I'm missing a few like cost reduction effects is what I look for this type of deck. And while I do have like Defiler of Flesh, Defiler of Instinct, and Bontu and Hazard's Monument on deck, I'm kind of missing like the white ones. But in terms of like potential mutate targets, I think the current suite of stuff that I have is pretty good. I think I got a well-rounded amount of like removal and card advantage, especially like in the creature base. There's like 1 or 2 humans, which like I'm always okay with to have in this type of deck. And everything else compensates. Do you got a bit of stuffy doll action going on?
Yeah, I guess if your opponents aren't always going to have creatures around for you to shoot, or if their creatures are like too big, then yeah, you just hit the stuffy doll or your brash taunter.
And because Snapdax has double strike, I figured, where if we might end up going like a Voltron route. So I have stuff like Angel Flyer Ignition. I got the new Foundations card Bulk Up. 1 in a red for an instant to double target creature's power until end of turn. So that is anyone's creature. And it has flashbacks for 4 and double red. And I'm like, yeah, I would pay 6 mana for that. It sounds awesome.
Interesting.
So yeah, I think I have 4 board wipes in this deck.
Oh wow.
A little above. I think maybe if you squint and look, it's like 4. It's probably more like 3. But like Ruinous Ultimatum and Mythos of Snapdax, like just windmill slam, get
Oh
that shit
yeah,
in
those are
there.
really strong because you just pick your mutate stack and sacrifice the rest, and then Ruinous Ultimatum, of course, is one-sided.
Yeah. I am just kind of really excited to give a bunch of these creatures a go, just because I haven't really had a spot for some of them in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Like Brash Taunter and Stuffy Doll were felt like automatic includes. Being able to mutate onto Venerable Warsinger for a bit of creature recursion felt pretty good, and it already having Trample and Vigilance felt like a no-brainer. Um Spike Shot Elder is a bit of a fun card from my first playgroup's standard days. My friend had a mono red goblins deck around Spike Shot Elder and Stratascythe.
Oh wow.
So Stratascythe always goes up for the number of mountains that are in play, period. You slap that onto the Elder, and then you just start fucking sniping people in the face for boatloads of damage. So it was like, damn, this was sick. We got Kedis Emberclaw Familiar.
Oh yeah, that
Um,
makes sense, especially with double striking commanders.
One that like I'm not sure how it's gonna work out, but I figured I'd put it in here anyway was Kunoros, Hound of Athreos with Vigilance, Menace, and Lifelink,
Mm-hmm.
and gives the whole shush your graveyards, get that shit out of here.
Yeah,
Will
if
that
you're not
be?
using your graveyard, then it's fine to just shut that off for
It's
everybody.
not like I'm not using my graveyard as much in this time around, so I was like, let's not do that. And I finally had a home for Bleeding Effect from Assassin's Creed. So,
Sick.
at the beginning of combat in your turn, creatures you control gain flying, first strike, double strike, death chest, hexproof, etc., etc.,
It's the
etc.
object text.
So thought, let's just give it a go, and if I can get Snapdax on Konoros or the Venerable Warsinger or whatever, we got at least 3 keywords and everything else goes up. War Chief Giant, being able to have Myriad on your mutate stack
Mm.
with haste and double strike, at least if I was able to get the Dirge Bat on top of it. It has flying and double strike and all this stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
simple stuff. War Chief Giant's just always that fun card to put in there. And making token copies of your non-legendary Snapdax seems super fucking cool. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to get the mana base together pretty soon because the other deck that I have to talk about tonight I made this list before I made the other one, but I have the other one in sleeves ready to go beforehand. So it was like one took priority over the other.
Yeah, sometimes there are certain cards that move you more passionately than other ones do. That seems to be one of those cases.
Yeah. So that's it for the Snapdax. We'll see what happens in the next little bit.
All right.
But it seems pretty neat.
Okay. I guess I just gotta. That's fine. So yeah, up next I have Mardu, Alesha, and 30 hair appearance.
What the fuck?
Yeah. So I tweeted that. Posted. It's whatever. Anyway, we're just gonna say that. Yeah, I tweeted that the other day, and then was like, wait, hang on. I'm pretty sure this idea actually has legs. So we put Alesha, who smiles at death, who does the whenever she attacks, you can pay hybrid Orzhov. And if you do, return target creature card with power 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped and attacking. We put that card and 30 hair appearance and a bunch of impact tremors effects and a bunch of rabbit lords, or just like rabbit synergy pieces and combat card draw cards in a pile all together. We've got the 2 kindred board wipes, a normal removal suite, and some like artifact ramp and altar of the brood. And just mixed all that soup together. Oh, there's mill spells too. Yeah. So we've got a just like a Mardu reanimator aggro pile, and it fucking works. If you can find the bunnies and cast the bunnies, they will make a lot of other bunnies, and running those numbers up is good for turning them all sideways or triggering impact tremors. We are on, like I said, 5 different versions of that. So I got the good ones. We got Agate Instigator, who can have offspring to make another one. We've got Perforus, God of the Forge, who does 2 damage for each of those. There's a Molten Gatekeeper who has Unearth. So that's
Yep.
I can buy that back from the graveyard, make sure we
Thank
get
you,
that in
Modern
the...
Horizons 3 for that little guy.
We have Impact Tremors proper to deal 1 damage to each opponent, and then War Leader's Call, because who doesn't want a glorious anthem with their Impact Tremors?
That card is so messed up.
The other effects that we have to take advantage of the numbers of creatures that we have are Court of Empress, where if we're the Monarch at the beginning of our upkeep, we make a 3/1 Night creature token. And then if we're the Monarch, Court of Empress deals X damage to each opponent, where X is the number of creatures you control. So at all times, we're trying to like use our bunnies to spit fire at our opponents, basically. I've got a Brazen Cannonade, so whenever an attacking creature I control dies, the Brazen Cannonade deals 2 damage to each opponent. And then at the beginning of your post-combat main phase, if you attacked with a creature this turn, you exile the top card of your library, and until end of combat on your next turn, you can play that card. So I'm out here drawing cards for going to combat. I want to be going to combat because Alessia will see the bunnies in my graveyard and try and bring them back, and we can just complete that gameplay loop. This is a really good deck for Offspring's Revenge, actually, because if you throw your bunnies into battle and they die, you can exile one of them from your graveyard at the beginning of combat, and you make a token copy that's a 1/1, and it gains haste until your next turn. And the heir apparents don't care if they're a token or not, so you just get all of the same rules text on it. I think that's really good for anything with extremely powerful static or triggered abilities. A card that I haven't... Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Okay. A card that I haven't played a whole lot of but wanted to see how it did in this deck was Roar of Resistance. It gives creature tokens that you control haste. It's an enchantment for 1 and a red. And whenever one or more creatures attack, you may pay 1 and a red. If you do, creatures attacking your opponents and or planeswalkers they control get +2/+0 until end of turn. That's a damage tripler to a 1/1. So like,
well,
the
other cool thing that I love about Roar of Resistance is the fact that you can activate it on other people's turns.
Yeah, that's true.
Or their attacking creatures.
So if somebody else is swinging with their wide board, I can just push that button and be like, now you're doing +2/+0 more for each creature. And that can feel pretty good.
Very cool.
I'm extremely excited to take advantage of connecting the dots in this deck. Anything where you want to be attacking with a large volume of creatures, I think you can just start ripping cards into exile, and then when your hand gets empty, you sacrifice connecting the dots and put all of the cards exiled with it into their owner's hands. And you can draw so many cards that way. And it's not like actually drawing, so you don't have to explain those gains to the taxman or whatever.
You don't know me. You don't know my business.
A Kindred board wipe that I cast that felt caps lock fucking incredible was Everything Comes to Dust. That one is 7 white with Convoke, and it says exile all creatures except those that share a creature type with a creature that convoked the spell, all artifacts, and all enchantments.
I think I was playing against Alice's Kadira deck. And I'm pretty sure I got hit with this for the exact same bunny type bullshit. And I was like, this shit is fucked. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, you just tap all your bunnies? Like you tap all of your bunnies. You don't have to spend any real mana on this.
Yeah,
you completely you just completely disintegrate your opponent's board states. Like, they lose everything of value, and you're sitting here with all of your bunnies.
Bunny supremacy is real.
We also have Kindred Dominance for the same sort of effect. We name Rabbit, we kill fucking everything else.
Awesome. Love that.
I really like Karazakar in here to tap the impactful creatures so that my shitty little 1/1s and 2/2s can get in there for combat damage, as well as keeps my hand full by forcing my opponents to attack their opponents, and we each draw cards when they do that. So sometimes they'll do that of their own accord, but we can press the issue by just yeeting expendable creatures into them and tapping and goading with Karazakar.
It is bunny breeding season, and here's the family. Here's the extended family getting in there for damage.
We've got Iroa's God of Victory to protect the bunnies in combat and make them harder to block.
Fucking god.
We've got Timna and Gix to keep my hand full of bunnies. I've got Alesha who laughs at fate in here. All of my bunnies that matter for this are like 2/2s, so even if we don't buff Alesha at all, she can bring back a Heir Apparent or a Value Quest Caller from the graveyard, and all of that is things that we want to be doing. So with all of that, I have played 2 games with this. One of them we lost, and the other one in both cases, we made metric fuck tons of bunnies. But one of them,
the one screenshot.
Yeah, I needed haste and I didn't find it in time, so we didn't end up winning that one. But the other one, I had just so many Impact Tremors effects on board. I was casting Heir Apparents into 4 others on board and making like 5. And with 3 Impact Tremors effects, we were just ridiculously burning everyone's life totals down. They were at like 40 and then they died.
Death by Bnuuys.
Bnuuys. I think about putting things like Burn at the Stake in this deck. I think that would be very funny. You just 5-mana sorcery and you tap all of your bunnies to deal, I think, a multiplier of that much damage to target opponent. That feels really good.
No kidding. Jeez. I'm afraid of this deck. I was afraid of Kadira decks, but this scares me. I fear no man, but that thing those Bnuuys. I don't know why I always see it spelled on the internet, the Bnuuy. I do not know how to fucking say that in real life.
Oh yeah, scientists
those bunnies scare the shit out of me.
Scientists are hard at work inventing new ways to misspell bunny.
You gotta love the English language.
Yeah,
no, this shit fucking rips.
It absolutely really does. I do need to probably look at drawing more cards because my hand is it rapidly depletes because the bunnies are so
it's
cheap.
90% lands or rabbits and there's nothing else, you're like, I got no gas. It's just bunnies all the way down.
Yeah, so I probably need 1 or 2 more card draw engines, like an Unholy Annex and a Phyrexian Arena. I think would be incredible.
Yeah.
Maybe we just cut 2 bunnies for that. I'd still be at 28 Heir Apparents, which is a pretty good number.
It's the fact that you can recur them. You're already I don't know. I think about when it comes to these, we've been getting a few of these types of cards, have X many amounts of cards in your deck, right? Slime Against Humanity is probably the one that still fucking pisses me off to no belief, but I've seen people run 20 of them in a list, and that shit rips because of they just don't care if they're in exile or not. But in this case, I feel like you could probably comfortably drop down to 20 to 25 and probably shore that up with card advantage or whatever. And between the 2 Aleshas and whatever else, I feel like you got enough redundancy to get more and more and more of them out.
Yeah, I think that checks out. The other Heir Apparent decks that I've seen in the wild are Delny, who is just unbelievably fucked up.
My god.
And Balin the Haymaker, who, again, unbelievably fucked up, tapping all of those rabbit tokens to draw cards, make mana, and put counters on Balin. Extremely strong. And Delny being the Harmonicon plus no blockies for my bunnies. What are you going to do? Die.
Yeah. The variant, each of the variant, and then, you got Kadira.
Yeah, Kadira, of course. Yeah, fucking think about it, gamers. There's a lot of interesting things going down in the rabbit typal world now.
We're just living in a rabbit's world.
So true, bestie. All right, what you got for us?
All right. Oh, hold on a minute here. I have this this deck box and wait, what? It's another mono red. Ivora, what the fuck are you doing here?
How did you get in here?
How did you do that? All right, so Ivora, Insatiable Air has been on the brain. I thought I was not going to be making another mono red deck anytime soon because I recently took apart Baby Mishra and my Neheb the Eternal deck.
Yeah, mono red is a cult, and just when you think you're out there, pulling you right back in with another cool brew.
Look, I never really left. Okay, like I know the shit isn't Scientology, but like
never really leave. You just take breaks from mono red.
I made that Urabresk Heretic Praetor deck, and that's fun. It has a lot of fun stuff in it. What did I grab for that deck recently? I need to think about that. Let me get back to you on that.
Was it like Charred Foray on Warp Space?
That I already had that ready to go, thankfully, so I didn't have to worry about it. It was some other card.
All-Star on the mono red Kellen deck BTW.
Hell fucking yeah. When you were like, Kellen, what can I do with you? And then I'm like, hello, passionate art. He's also a passionate archaeologist, and you're like, damn, you right though.
I'm just like, okay, much to think about here.
If we're already just going to be paying a bunch of fucking mana to like make this one drop everything you can conceivably think of. Was that Wild Wasteland? Anyway, I don't know. But
oh shit. Yeah.
So I was
Wild
like,
Wasteland.
okay. I'm going to be making another mono red deck. What's it going to be? And obviously they made a bunch of like really cool spells and stuff, whatever. But the real thing was that Ivora had my heart from the start. It was a matter
blood
of
token on her. I don't know what they want.
She says blood token, so like I'm sold, right? The other thing too is that red specialization of just being able to just have a random Discord clauses to start pumping her is pretty great, and if you're able to back that up with being able to maybe sort of cast spells from exile or whatever, like that also helped. Like whatever you can do it. You get a super powerful 2-drop that's like really big, and then people get really afraid of it, and then they kill your commander. You're like, well, that sucks, but I think I can cast her for 4 comfortably and still, excuse me, turn out pretty dang well. So, you just have a bunch of stuff that cares about you discarding your cards in some way, shape, or form, and you have things that care about you. You have other cards that also care about you discarding cards, or when they get discarded, what else happens to them, and if you have cards in your graveyard, what do you do with that? So, like Bedlam Reveler, Hearth Elemental / Stroke of Genius, the adventure card.
Oh, Bedlam Reveler, my beloved. I absolutely adore that card from like the beginning of me playing Magic.
It was nice to be able to be like, I'm making a deck that cares about discarding cards in some way, shape, or form. I don't have all of the pieces that I want, but I am interested in getting more and more of them. But you literally just get every single Thrill of Possibility / Tormenting Voice variant that you can think of.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as you're able to find some way to keep yourself card positive, you have an you very quickly have a very large 2 mana 8/8 or whatever that's turning sideways with Trample, while also developing your horde of blood tokens. As usual, Molten Psyche, probably one of my other favorite cards after Wheel of Misfortune. But it's very easy to get up to the 3 artifacts necessary for Metalcraft. New cards that I have been wanting to find places for and just never really had a place for it, or just felt redundant or there was too much overlap. Again, like your Otter Owling Mine earlier, Corvus Fury, Molten Psyche, Path of the Pyromancer. What the fuck? Shit. You're making mana off your discard. That's so
that
so
card
let me
is
add
so
mana.
Fucking strong.
Let me add, like, who can? Oh, it also has Will of the Planeswalkers. No one gives a fuck. Okay, I'm discarding my hand. I'm adding red for each of the card discarded away. Then draw that mini +1. So great. We're at parity. Fantastic. New card from the Thunder Junction Precons, Pyretic Charge. 5 in a red for sorcery. Discard your hand. Draw 4 cards. For each card discarded this way, creatures you control get +1/+0 until end of turn, with plot for 3 in a red. So if you have the excess mana, you plot this ahead of time, plotting your attack, or you just say, fuck it, I'll just cast it for 5 mana, no big deal. I was looking for a place to put it in a deck. This felt like a very appropriate place, and you also effectively double the power of Ivora if you're just taking her at face value.
I played that in the Thunder Junction precon that it came from, and that was very much a deck where you do nothing for 7 turns, and then you cast all of the spells, and one of those was Pyretic Charge, and fucking won me the game off of the 4/4 Flying Dragon Elementals.
Fuck, it's just so fucking awesome. We have, like, Decaying Time Loop.
Oh, hell yeah.
Fateful Showdown, and Change of Fortune.
Nice.
Which they all kind of, like, do the whole discard and draw in with some way, shape, or form. Fateful Showdown is one of those cards that was from Kaladesh. It's an instant. Fateful Showdown deals damage to target creature or player equal to the number of cards in your hand. Discard all cards from your hand. Draw that many. So being able to wheel your hand for whatever value it is, and then also deal damage for 4 at instant speed. Yeah, that seems all right.
I actually play that in my Kess Whispering Madness deck because I want cards in my graveyard and I need removal, and also that card just feels good emotionally.
Yep. In terms of finding other ways to make Ivora absolutely threatening in this deck, get your Teemo of Battle Rage, get your bulk up. Emergency situations, you use your Blood Frenzy offensively on her, or you use it defensively when someone decides to send their 7/5 over at an opponent, and you just cast Blood Frenzy on it, so they get dealt 11. That seems pretty great.
Shouldn't have got caught slipping.
Stensia Masquerade, so attacking creatures control have first strike, great for Ivora. Whenever a vampire you control deals combat damage to a player, put a +1 counter on it, and it has Madness.
That card is basically her Thesis enchantment, I feel like. It wants to be discarded. It buffs her for dealing combat damage. That is incredible.
Very good. Civil Unrest, creatures you control that enter, non-token creatures that enter have Riot, and if a creature you control with a +1 counter on it would deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals double that damage instead.
I'm a huge fan of Uncivil Unrest. I play that in the Dark Lord Sauron. I play it in a couple other places where you put +1/+1 counters on stuff. We love Rhythm of the Wild for that line of text, like, alone. And putting that on a 5 mana enchantment is like, this price isn't too much, and also I'll take the damage doubler.
So with Ivora, it feels like a no-brainer.
Yeah, you're very quickly getting close to commander damage with her that way.
In the Legendary Creature podcast review episode for the Legendary Creatures and Foundations, I shout out to whoever did the Ivora review. I don't remember the name off the top of my head. Mentioned Vault 21 House Gambit.
Yo, great card. Every time I've seen that resolved against me, I've been like, wow, I should be playing that.
1 in a red for a saga from Fallout. The first 2 chapters are discard a card, then draw a card. Great. Love doing that super early. The 3rd chapter says, reveal up to 5 non-land cards from your hand. For each of those cards that has the same mana value as another card revealed this way, create a treasure token. So, if you're like me, and you're playing a bunch of, like, 2 or 3 drops, you can make a bunch of treasure tokens, like, pretty damn fucking easily. We have Hero's Blade.
Oh, yeah.
We have Grafted Wargear. The vibes are in shambles. We have, like, Key to the City, all that other stuff. I lightning axed something recently, which was a very good feeling.
Ooh. I play that finally in, like, 60 card with Izzet Phoenix.
Oh yeah, that shit it just rips. It's just fucking awesome. This was a card that I picked up a couple copies of, and I couldn't tell you the rhyme or reason why I got them, but Phial of Galadriel.
Oh, that card owns, actually.
3 mana legendary artifact. If you would draw a card while you have no cards in hand, draw 2 cards instead. If you wheel your hand, you have 0 cards when you're drawing, which means you draw X many cards +1, which feels pretty damn good.
Same when you're doing like blood token thing with basically an empty hand.
With an empty hand, yeah. If you would gain life while you have 5 or less life, you gain twice that much life instead. I wish I had another Witch's Clinic to put in here, but I think I'm pretty good otherwise.
Oh, that seems strong in the applications of Lich specifically.
Yep. So, hey, this as usual, a 3 mana rock
Oh, it's
that
a
does
Manolith Plus too?
it. Yes, yes. So you're never not using
All
it for
right.
something.
I'm actually considering this card now.
I've done my job, but you've done nothing. I've done my job. I'm leaving now. So yeah, I think there's a lot of things that can be done with the deck in its current iteration. I think maybe some of the things that I've added kind of like maybe diluted a bit. I didn't have like a spare Blasphemous Sack, and I was wondering which way I could go about for doing board wipes. The way I went about it was having stuff like Pyroclasm effects, like something that does
Hmm.
2 or 3 damage to everything. If I get Avora above the threshold, then I don't really give a shit. Um, but the other thing is that I also put in the trio of Thud, Fling, and Pyretic Blast, or Pyrrhic Blast. So if she gets big enough, I can just like throw it in someone's face. So I don't like, oh no, she's dying. Whip it.
Hell
You
yeah.
know. So yeah, she is a Voltron deck that also happens to do this really weird synergy with draw and discard. It's going to be interesting to see where I end up taking the deck. I think I still need to put a few extra little cards in there that still keep consistent pressure on top of basically hell, giving myself hellbent for like little to no reason, and I hope I can find my NT Seneschal of the Sun or Veronica, um, just to make sure that I'm not, or like the Containment Construct, just to make sure that I'm not always losing my resources. Otherwise, it's very cool. I like the idea of the deck. I like the design of Ivora a lot.
Yeah, you sounded pretty excited talking about her. I definitely want to see this deck in action.
Yep, no problem. That'll be happening soon.
Hell yeah.
Alrighty. One of your last decks. What do you got?
All right. So I also have, like we talked about, have been drafting Foundations. One of the legends that I picked up was Alesha, who laughs at fate. And naturally, we wanted to see what the fuck this card did because I played her in this sick Mardu aggro deck where I was just like attacking with Alesha and the 1/1 cat that enters and draws a card. Helpful Hunter, maybe something like that. So that guy enters, I draw a card, it gets blocked in combat, it dies. We go to post combat, I don't have anything, so we go to end step, I reanimate the cat, I draw a card, I'm going to combat the next turn, we're completing this gameplay loop and being card positive. It feels extremely good. So I wanted to see what that did when expanded to 100 card singleton. And because I've been playing this on MTGO, we wanted to be just a little bit ruder than I usually am in my deck building. So a lot of the things that we're reanimating have rude enter the battlefield effects. We have a lot of Fleshbag Marauder type guys and a lot of Burglar Rat type guys who make people enter the battlefield and sacrifice a creature or enter the battlefield and make each opponent discard a card. Because I didn't have as good of removal, I guess, in like sorceries or instants or whatever. My options there were a little limited. So I decided to just like handle threats before they actually happen by making everybody discard them and then try to go like neutral with the improved Fleshbag Marauder technology. They've got stuff like a Cursed Marauder who makes each player sacrifice a non-token creature, and the other cards like Plaguecrafter, who if they don't have any creatures, then they discard a card. We're just like being a little more discerning in the quality of Fleshbag Marauder that we're choosing, and really just making every one of these edicts feel like making our opponents feel the crunch on each one of these. And I have the extremely rude text on Alesha where I just like get to my end step and can reanimate a creature who is mana value less than or equal to her power. If I'm choosing Fleshbag Marauder, I'm like, we get to my end step, I make you sacrifice a creature, and then next turn I can do that again. And I'm attacking with Alesha. Whenever she attacks, she gets a +1/+1 counter on her. So I'm working my way up to bigger and bigger numbers of like mana value of thing that I'm allowed to reanimate. So we're working up to more and more impactful Fleshbag type guys. like the Gravelighter at 3 mana. When it enters the battlefield, I draw a card if a creature died this turn. Otherwise, each player sacrifices a creature. So I can have that guy either be card advantage or an edict. And then Chain Devil is a 4/2 who, when it enters, each player sacrifices a non-token creature. So if I've got another weaker guy who I can discard, or just not discard, but like sacrifice for profit, like the Impulsive Pilferer, the Goblin who, when it dies, you make a treasure token, I can sacrifice that guy to the Chain Devil, or Carter Doomscourge. If he's done his job, I can sacrifice him to the Chain Devil.
Rude.
And
oh
then,
my god.
if Alessia is 4 power or more, then we get to my end step and I reanimate Carter Doomscourge and we're back on that goad train.
Look, it's almost as good as having Carter in the command zone.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking good. Working my way up to more impactful threats, we start to get to stuff like Hellrider, who makes my attacks go further from my fleshbags and burglar rats instead of just the like 1/1s or whatever. Then I'm swinging with those guys, plus Hellrider dealing 1 damage to the defending player. Other force multipliers, we've got Perforos, God of the Forge, and Mishra, claimed by Gix. And Mishra, my beloved, whenever I attack, each opponent loses X life and I gain X life, where X is the number of attacking creatures. We can also meld him with the Phyrexian Dragon Engine, who is in this deck because that's a 3 mana value creature with double strike and it's a 2/2, which means Alessia can just like grab that guy, no big deal. And when it enters from the graveyard, I discard my hand and draw 3 cards if I want to. This entering for Alessia's trigger counts as coming to the battlefield from the graveyard, so I don't have to have used the Unearth to get the potential card advantage from him.
Very cool. Love that.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. I'm on a bunch of dredge guys so that I can increase the number of options that I have of guys to reanimate. We've got Stinkweed Imp in particular, and the Golgari Grave Troll. Those guys, or sorry, Golgari Thug. The Dredge 4 and then Dredge 5. Those numbers really increase the card exposure, and you've got a lot more options. I keep thinking about the big room, Funeral Room Awakening Hall, just to like, if I get there, drag everybody from the grave back all at once and find a haste enabler and end the game.
Just go.
Yeah, I don't know. We're trying to figure out a way to make that happen. Getting into my more impactful threats, though, we've got Aklizots and Dragonhawk, who are both like either card disadvantage or card advantage for me. All of that feels really good. Junji the Midnight Sky, who does reanimation if I want, or has each opponent discard 2 cards and lose 2 life when it dies. It's also fucking 5/5 with flying and menace, so I'm like beating the ever-living shit out of people, or I'm having this death trigger that means a lot. My Rakdos aggro beloved Karazakar, you know we got that in here. I'm making my guys get through tapping and goading. If you're doing any degree...
If I'm starting to think that like Karazakar may or may not be like one of your signature cards at this point.
I fucking play it enough, I think.
Like we're approaching critical mass of Karazakar in like a boatload of your decks.
Yeah, if I'm playing red-black mana and I'm turning sideways at all, I probably have a Karazakar in the deck. It just promotes the kind of gameplay that I enjoy. Damn, maybe Karazakar is a signature card. They gotta reprint him so he's not $50 bajillion. He's actually like 5 or whatever on the base printing, but still, we need more printings of this guy. I'm on MTGO, so I'm playing Tergrade, God of Fright. She's extremely rude.
Yeah, you are.
But what are you gonna do? Everybody else is being similarly rude, and they're not like patting you on the back for your key restrictions, and we'll get into all that later, actually. So yeah, I've got her. It's impactful with all of my fleshbags and burglar routes. I've also got Grave Titan and Inferno Titan, both of whom feel extremely good. We've got Overlord of the Boiler Bilges, who's basically an Inferno Titan. Shout out to you. And Dracuseth, Maw of Flames, also basically an Inferno Titan.
fucking love that fucking dragon.
I also
so fucking cool.
really wanted to see what the fuck Rotten Mouth Viper did, so I put that in the deck. I drafted one of those and never got to cast it. We're finally gonna fucking get one of these on the battlefield and see what it does. And then the last pick for reanimation is Shouldred Whispering one, because, you know, what are you gonna do?
Because fuck him, that's why.
Yeah.
Oh man. So yeah, you are going maximum rude with this deck.
Yeah, we have made some incredibly rude selections to match the metagame in which we are playing this style of deck, and I think it is the thing that I needed to do because the deck actually works on that metagame and is impactful, and that feels good to be like validated in my like differing from my usual decisions. One of these things that I really wanted to talk about though was Midnight Snack. I haven't gotten to see what this does yet, but it's a 2 and a black enchantment with a raid at the beginning of your end step. If you attacked this turn, create a food token, and you can spend 2 and a black and sacrifice this enchantment. Target opponent loses X life, where X is the amount of life you gain this turn. It's in here because it says raid on it. There are probably way better ways to spend this mana, but I want to see what it does. I think it's extremely good if your commander is Meld Mishra because you're dealing damage and gaining life, and then you can just like sacrifice that to finish the job on someone if you need to.
Speaking of raid, I'm sorry to interrupt, but this is reminding me that I came across a card that I was not aware of at all.
Oh yeah?
Gutless Plunderer from Foundations. 2 and a black for a 2/2 skeleton pirate with Death Touch with raid. When this creature enters, if you attack this turn, look at the top 3 cards of your library. You may put one of those cards back on top of your library, put the rest into your graveyard.
Oh yeah, I've got that in here. He sets up my graveyard and makes sure that my next draw is probably like the land that I need to draw into or whatever, and then puts 2 creatures in my graveyard. Hopefully they're a Fleshbag or a Burglar Rat so we can keep this game plan going.
Yeah, it's...
yeah, it's pretty rude, but it matches the metagame, so like whatever. Shout out to Braid's Arisen Nightmare. Truly one of the most impactful card draw engines that I've seen in a bit for black mana. Wow.
God, it is such a fucking rude fucking card.
Yeah, he's real strong.
Every time that I have either been on the receiving end of a Braids, which is way more often than I would prefer, and whenever I get to play my single copy of Braid's Arisen Nightmare, I am always surprised of the impact that it leaves when people are like, yeah, I'm not going to sacrifice anything. And I'm like, thank you for your loss of life and me drawing cards. Let's do this again next round. And they were like, please don't. The fact I even let you do that much is already too much. But Braids is consistently an overperformer, despite the fact that she's not as fucking rude as her mono black or other black version of her.
Mm-hmm. She's still pretty fucking rude.
Just
Queen.
Stupid. I wish. Yeah, good shit.
Yeah, so that's the deck basically. Just rude sacrifice effects attached to creatures, and then impactful things to reanimate, and then enchantments that mill and synergize with my strategy.
But Quinn, what is the lead up of all of this? You know, what do all of these cards and the environment that you find yourself in have to do with your soapbox this episode?
All right, let me crack open this cold one.
Oh, hell yeah.
Like we alluded to, wanted to talk about the metagame on Magic the Gathering Online and my deck building sensibilities that I'm normally applying for like smoking mids EDH or like content EDH or whatever, and the dissonance between the two. They are playing some rude cards out there. You kind of have to be prepared to stop turn 6 wins or win on turn 6. And like I alluded to, nobody's really like patting you on the back for following silly little deck restrictions. So I've kind of just like stopped following those, and I'm just playing the cards that I need to match that metagame, because I think if I do that, I will have better games. So I think part of why this is the way that it is out there is because cards are so much cheaper on MTGO. These things that are like $20+ in paper can be had for $1 to $2, and that probably like changes the perceptions of what should and shouldn't be played. One of those is kind of like OG dual lands. Like if you can have those for like $1 or whatever, why shouldn't you run them? And they are kind of the thing who in paper, their expense signifies typically a certain power level or like a level of investment in the deck that lets you know they're going to potentially have similarly like expensive or powerful cards.
Yeah, like I don't mean to interject here because like you're only just starting this whole thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
I know some friends who do proxies of fetch lands and OG duels and all this other stuff, and like they do alternate arts and they make them look fancy or whatever, right? They're not, obviously they're not like this is obviously, take a look, it's totally totally real OG duel. That's not the case. But you realize pretty quick that not only do they have like multiple decks and multiple copies of these cards, it's like, and all the time you knew guaranteed at least like 3 or 5 times in a game you would hear, okay, I'm going to go play my fetch land and go crack it and go find my OG duel. And you're just sitting there like, bruh, I'm playing temples. Like, I feel like you and I are on a completely different wavelength when it comes to like trying to round out your mana base.
Yeah,
and
I will play all of the on-color fetches as well as Prismatic Vista and Fabled Passage, because I think I should have a mana base that will fuel the Midsum Trunch Smoke. That people aren't like. I would also play OG duels if they didn't signify things that I didn't want people assuming about my decks, So yeah, that's why we don't play those. It's like that maybe signals a power level that I'm not shooting for, despite them not like, I genuinely don't think that they're that much more powerful than like Shocklands or whatever. But
no, and I don't, but I think it's just the habit,
yeah,
the gameplay habit of one leading to another thing. It's like when people are like, "Oh, are you finally? What the heck is the Boros OG duel?" I don't.
I don't know, but dude.
Like from a Beledric standpoint, it's like, "Oh, are you finally gonna work your way up and get one of those?" And I'm like, "No, because I don't really care enough. Like, I would rather get a Sacred Foundry, Yeah, Plateau, yeah. Like, I would rather get something else than, also it's an old-ass card. I'm fine with that. I would rather take the hypothetical money I would spend on a Plateau and make a deck out of it. But anyway, sorry. We're getting a little off track.
But, yeah, but whatever. That's what we're here for. It's our podcast. We can do whatever we want.
Run in my mouth. Let's go.
All right. So, out there in that wild, if you have these powerful and expensive cards and they're so much cheaper than they are there, like, why shouldn't you acquire them and run them? Sword of Feast and Famine is in the Commander, like, starter pack thing. And I think you can you get 5 of 10 Mirren swords. I'm pretty sure I've fangirled about this before, but like there's all 5 of the OG Praetors, there's all that, like, and it's like the price of a single Commander precon. It really sets you up for the powerful, impactful card suite that you do see it played a lot in Commander. And if you can have that so easily, then why shouldn't you play Sword of Feast and Famine in every deck that wants to go to combat? The other part I think that really shapes the metagame out there is you don't actually have to get to know people or see them again, really. You can kind of just be the absolute fucking worst, and there's not really any consequence. So there's plenty of people out there who are just running the deck that they feel like playing out there at the time, kind of regardless of any like deck power level preferences someone might have described in the like lobby description before you click into a game. Like you can learn usernames, I guess, and try and curate good experiences by adding them to a buddies list and setting up games with them like that. And like we said, you can also write a description about the kind of game that you're looking for when you set up a game. But there's no consequences really for taking like the worst interpretation and playing that like deck that's probably pushing it in a meta game that's like maybe more casual.
Yeah, like it's every like worst case scenario you could conceivably think of without any good rule zero conversation.
Yeah, you can, and I have had quite a few good games out there with people who were lovely, and we even had a good conversation in the like little chat client in there. So like that exists. There are good people and fun gamers out there. It's just it's the fucking Wild West. So you might also not. So what am I learning from this is the question. Point one, you kind of got to play the oppressive staples. Usually I leave Grave Pact out of decks because it creates miserable board states in the mid-spoking metagame that I come from and that I'm trying to cultivate when I'm playing games in like the spaces that I am. On MTGO, I think you gotta just play that. Even if you're not like sacrificing creatures to force triggers, it improves your aggro game plan by basically saying blocking my creatures lethally comes at a high price. And I just need you to fucking think about it if you're gonna do that. Like maybe my shitty little burglar rats get through for damage if you only have one creature and it's your commander.
Damn.
Other things that I gotta play that I don't usually, Praetors. They're fucking bombs. They're miserable and mid-smoking casual, or at least the like OG Praetors. But if everybody's playing Avengers level threats, and they are, then they're good bodies with impactful effects. Like people expect to see Sheoldred in that, like OG Sheoldred in that metagame, or the like OG Vorinclex or Jin Kataxis.
Which is so interesting to think about because of how you like how different those cards are in terms of like power creep in like a modern Magic gameplay environment. But like if you're powering them out or reanimating them for like next to nothing or whatever, like an early game Sheoldred can be super fucked up for anyone that isn't prepared to deal with it or offset like the sacrifice trigger. Like that also, don't even get me fucking started on fucking Vorinclex, that fucking giant, oversized fucking meathead, fucking dick, fucking making me tap my lands.
All right, buddy.
Keeping my lands tapped.
I played against a Joda deck the other day, the 5-color, like, Fist of Suns one. Yeah. Not the legendary Cascade one. And that guy was on, I think, like, turn 5, put an It That Betrays into play, and then a Void Winnower. And the rest of the table collectively was like, ... Well, this is over. Are we good to move on here? And everybody's just like, yep, GG's, concede.
Fuck. Brutal.
Sometimes you do just fucking lose the game on the spot like that. And not
sometimes you're just doing some... I know we talked about this a little bit when I was talking about when I got entombed, exhumed into the fucking Eldrazi, whichever one that was. And I just did the mental heuristics of like, am I willing to deal with that? Run the full diagnostic check. Nah, son, I'm out. See you fucking later. I'm not dealing with that.
Yeah, I'm just like, maybe there's a chance that I like top deck the removal, but they're going to combat and Annihilator, okay. And then it's just like, I'm sacrificing the like half of the 4 lands that I have. It's like, maybe I find a 2-mana removal spell, but the odds of that happening were just like,
nah.
I am probably dead by Eldrazi beats before we get anywhere close to finding that, so I think we can just shortcut this process to where, like, you've killed me via Eldrazi and it's fine.
Yeah. Yep. Brutal.
Yeah, that was the fucking things that happened. Smothering Tithe, another card that I'm playing more
Yeah,
out
just
there.
run that shit.
Yeah, if it's
just do it.
white mana, you just gotta play that.
If everyone's got Rhystic Study, run your Smothering Tithe.
And everyone does have Rhystic Study, it feels like. And just like in general, you probably should pack a higher density of removal. A lot of the times, almost everything that your opponents play is something that you should probably try and remove. They're just, on average, like a higher card quality, so you gotta just don't get caught slipping, gamer.
Mm-hmm.
So we can get into subsection 2 here. These are the kinds of things that work and what I think makes them work. In like, first off, the mono black braids precon that I think comes with the like account or the starter account upgrade, one of those two, the one that gives you a bunch of like pre-constructed decks for every format. The one that they choose for commander is Braids Arisen Nightmare, and it is constructed very similarly to my Rakdos Alesha deck, actually. It is a lot of Fleshback Marauders and Burglar Rats, and you sacrifice those two braids on end step, as well as stuff like Prize Statue, and really just like reduce the amount of resources that your opponents have available and draw a bunch of cards and use things like Bnuuys Monument to burn them out and close the game out that way. I think that one's pretty effective because removing the threats before they have the opportunity to be a threat that you need to like spend ward mana on or figure out hexproof through. If you just make them discard it, then it's gone.
Sound good? Yeah, no kidding. Sounds good to me.
So yeah, check that out for like an example of deck building stuff that works. I also have a lot of success out there with my Zoraline Orzhov Bats deck. I guess it's that a lot of people don't see the bats as worth removing, and frankly, they're not until I land one of those key cards. And then Zoraline is like turning the gain 1 life that I'm doing into each opponent loses 5 life. And I've got my Roaming Throne out, who is doubling all of those triggers. And I've got like 5 versions of the each opponent loses a life whenever I gain a life effect. We're just like fucking melting life totals. But by that time, it's already too late and I've gone to combat and those triggers are on the stack. So I think that one...
I wonder when they'll learn. I wonder.
I don't think they will. I haven't seen another Zoraline on there yet. So I don't know how often they are running into people playing Black-White Bats. It's really those burn effects that you have to remove. And just like... we're playing more O-rings than we are normally in that kind of deck.
Mm-hmm.
And Zoraline can pick them up from the graveyard using her ability because they're all under the 3 mana. And O-ring technology is getting pretty good. Like there's classic Grasp of Fate, of course, which grabs 3 things if you're, like 1 per opponent or whatever. But then there's O-rings that have ward, O-rings that are auras for your commander that you can give them ward. Like, shit is sweet these days. So we're just like, we've got the removal density, we've got recursion, and a creature type that tends to fly under the radar. And I think all of that combines into success. I'm taking a sip of that drink so that I can talk about our boy Karazakar.
Okay, so I think you're just proving my point. Continue.
Yeah, so I'm playing a Karazakar Rakdos token aggro deck. A lot of the heavy lifting is done by goblins, so we're playing just like goblins that make more goblins, or the spell Goblin Surprise that makes goblins. We've got the Krankos commands and all of that. And things that make tokens in general, so the, what's his name, Jadar, Ghoulcaller of Nephalia, who gives me that Decayed Zombie token. I don't think I have a Death Tyrant in there, but if I can get one on MTGO, I probably am considering that.
Oh, the Beholder.
Yeah.
zombie dude. Yeah. Okay, yeah.
I like that card a lot. It just like multiplies the bodies basically. Especially if you can sacrifice them mid combat, that feels really good. Then you just force the issue. And I think, so Karazakar in the zone carrying a lot of weight here for the deck. In the 99, it's just like goblins, like we talked about, things that make tokens, and Karazakar makes them go further by tapping my opponent's heaters and making them not my problem. So I think a large amount of the damage that I'm doing in that deck is from my opponents beating each other the fuck up, and I think that's really cool and special for me. Karazakar also, like we talked about, keeps my hand full so that I can keep just like throwing bodies at the problem. Shout out to Sear Slicer Goblin in particular, a new pickup from Foundations. That guy, raid trigger, yep. So if I've attacked on my end step, I make a 1/1 Goblin, and I can just keep throwing these bodies into the fray. We also, we've got Meld Mishra in the 99 of that deck. Force Multiplier makes all of my goblins melt my opponent's life totals. One super impactful experience that I had with that was playing against an opponent who had a Ceres Emissary naming creatures. So they had protection from creatures, but Mishra just makes people lose life, so I was still able to swing out with my board and burn them for lethal.
Awesome, love that.
Yeah, that feels extremely good. Back to talking about the Karazakar, the card particular though, he's a little bit higher removal priority, but I'm never playing the best cards at the table on that deck, and I think that lets me skate by a bit. There's almost always...
Also, you know, being a really good pilot on top of it also helps out the situation.
Yeah, that does help out the situation, I bet. I actually think that my, I probably get the, the speech 100 options are available if I'm playing the deck in person as opposed to over MTGO, just because people aren't as inclined to have a conversation with you about things via that. Whereas in person, I can whoa, hang on, listen, I know you're gonna attack, but you want to make sure I know you want to blow up Karazakar, but don't you want to do that post-combat after you've drawn those cards with his ability? He's goated anyway. You got to go to combat anyway with him, but you might as well draw cards about it, right? You can't do that on MTGO, really.
Yeah, no. They're like, how about no? And you're like, damn it.
Yeah, the dialogue options are more robust in paper, but I do think Karazakar affords me a bit of goodwill for my opponents. They're pretty interested in drawing cards just as I am, even if it costs them a little bit, because the quality of their cards is so good, and I can just bend all of that to my advantage, leverage their damage against each other, and then come in and swing the win at the end with Meld Mishra. We also have Aristocrats tech. We try and have something on board as board wipe insurance. So I've got Conrad, I've got Garna, the most recent one from Dominaria United. And then Funeral Room Awakening Hall is also a good option. The Funeral Room half is the Bastion of Remembrance, which I think is also in the deck. So I'm just if you are gonna
wow, so they really did cover all the bases with that list.
Yeah. If you're gonna board wipe me, I'm gonna have something to show for it. I really want to get a Vein Ripper for that, though. I think that would be really cool and special for me.
Oh, yeah, that would be pretty damn good for that, yeah.
So yeah, there's that. Another deck that works in this metagame pretty well, surprisingly, was Fairies? Question mark? Yeah, my Toxtrol deck.
Oh, so you got to replicate it.
Yeah, there was every once in a while MTGO will do spend $10 and until the weekend is over or whatever, you have access to basically all of the cards on the client minus a small list of special treatments or a particular rarity of card or whatever.
Yeah.
So they actually have one going on right now until I think December 2nd. For $10 you get the all access pass. I'm thinking about copping that for the long weekend. So yeah, I had one of those. and then literally just ported my fairies deck from paper 1-to-1 to the MTGO client and tested that out in multiple games, and it was impactful and able to hang, and all of that felt really good. I think a lot of that comes from how you need to play that like higher density of removal on MTGO, and fairies just like inherently is a control archetype, so they've got a lot of that built in. So just like,
oh, don't even fucking get me started on the fairies goddamn bullshit.
Yeah, I hear you had an experience with fairies over the weekend that was maybe not the same experience that I'm bringing with the deck.
And I have to work with the guy afterward. It's like, damn it.
Yeah, that sounds rough. Sorry, babes.
Oh well, I'll get him next time.
Yeah. A weird experience though, playing fairies. I don't think I drew that much aggro for having Toxrill in the command zone. Usually you put that there, and in paper people are like, okay, wait, you need to fucking die.
Oh, it's Quinn. If I don't have a removal spell on deck the entire game, waiting to fucking snipe that damn thing out of the aether as soon as it shows up, I'm playing the game wrong.
That's so funny, because I almost never cast Toxrill when I'm playing that deck. We can almost always find our fairy. We have never played,
beforehand. You know, as it's been established, as I've been chatting with a bunch of people for the last couple weeks, because we're trying to set up games with some people. Some people are like, I've never played against your Audric deck. And I'm like, that's fucked up. I can't believe that. And then I'm like, I've never played against Quinn's Fairies deck. There's probably a reason for that, but you know.
I don't know. It's just like whenever we're playing, it's on Lexicon or something like that, or the hour where you maybe don't bring a control deck.
It's 11 o'clock. We're trying to go to bed. We're trying to go the fuck to sleep. Please do not subject us to the control win condition that is Toxrill.
Yeah, I'm not really trying to play a control deck at 11 p.m. Everybody's got to get to bed. So I'm probably playing Owling Mine or something like that.
Yeah. Descend into Avernus. Let's go to bed.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, people don't just like immediately aggro me on MTGO for playing Toxrill in the command zone. And maybe it's because they're like expecting the worst already, and then fairies is a refreshing change. Like you hop in the chat and like you sigh when I reveal Toxrill as my commander, and then my turn one is just like Secluded Glen revealing Sleep Cursed Fae so that comes in untapped, and then I'll cast Sleep Cursed Fae that enters the battlefield with 3 stun counters on it or whatever, and then I'm just like, more fairies, here's some flash things, more fairies. Like maybe that buys me points in that metagame. I don't know. I really have no idea what people feel like when they're sitting across from that deck.
You're usually flexing like the cool stuff on top of I don't know. You got the coolness factor better than most people, you know.
Thank you, I appreciate that. So yeah, maybe that does earn me some points because it's novel. And then the other deck that I have success with out there is Alesha 2, the Rakdos Alesha. Like we talked about, it's a testament to playing that higher density of removal out there being correct. Significant portion of the deck, like we talked about, Fleshbag Marauders, Burglar Rats. We reanimate those on end step if we've gotten to a point where we need to control the board, and you get into that pattern of reanimating a banger on one turn, a Fleshbag on another, and you chain that up into your reanimating Dracuseth, and all of that feels really good. That one's a Grave Pact deck. My Fleshbags go even further there. So just fucking...
Ooh, yeah, it definitely fucking does.
Yeah, I'm sacking this Fleshbag Marauder, you're sacrificing 2 creatures, I'm keeping the board clear, I'm sending these guys into combat, and then if you block them, we trigger Grave Pact again, so really think about whether or not you want to block them. It's pretty impactful. I've had, I think, 2 extremely successful games with that, and then 1 game where, yeah, that's the one where Joda showed up. We were not getting through that one.
Oh no.
And then, yeah, so with all of that, we can get to section 3. Here's one deck that I've tried that just, like, did not fucking work, and that is my Grixis Rune's Chantress deck. I probably need to play that the full 5-color deck, and I probably have to play the like green-white Enchantress staples to shore that strategy
if you're not
up.
Yeah, no, you have to put like Sithis and the the suite
Yeah.
there, because you're not getting it
It
otherwise.
did not feel very good to just be doing the Grixis version of farming mid-range value without the backup of the life gain from Sithis or the extra card draw for 4 enchantresses. You really are like kneecapping yourself. So that definitely functions a lot better in the paper mid-smoking metagame. Doesn't work as well in the much higher power meta game on MTGO, feels like. And I'm probably not gonna build that deck with those staples, so I don't think we are gonna play much rooms on MTGO unless we figure out a way to make that deck more impactful. Maybe we like drop the all permanence restriction that I built it with in paper and play more like instants and sorceries and stuff. We can, I guess, toy with that like ratio of things to see if the deck improves in function.
This is so interesting overall to me, because we are individually exposed to not only like our own playgroups, but also listening to other people's like playgroups when they talk about like what they have to deal with within the context of like the group of only 4, 5, 6 people that they play with, you know. And then when you go out of your way to take more and more and more social elements out of what Magic is all about, it's interesting to see how people immediately take advantage of that, or take that as a sign that they can just kind of do whatever, and then you by proxy have to rise to the occasion to deal with it. Otherwise you just get blown out of the water, you know.
Yeah, it is
Like,
interesting the way that metagame develops. Because, yeah, you do
I
just like, if you want to have better games out there, you do just need to like rise to the occasion and play the types of cards that you're seeing played against you.
like I I've been playing Commander since 2011 or 2012, give or take, right? And I have a plethora of people to play with out where I currently live and online. Like, very thankful for that. Magic has given me the opportunity to do that. I couldn't be more thankful for that. The idea of using a client, and maybe like I guess MTG Arena and like Brawl is kind of the same thing, where it's like it these clients are a tool in my mind for you to be able to, and probably the same way that like you can use the Moxfield playtester on Spell Table, right? Like, it is a way for you to do the proof of concept of a thing to figure out if you're actually going to play it or not. For some people also, it's just a way for them to play Magic without spending any money, or not spend a significant amount of money, depending on like if you how much you use MTGO, right?
Yeah, sometimes you want to wake up at like 3 a.m. when you can't sleep and like treat Commander like a video game and play some on MTGO or something.
Yeah, and one of it's just the idea of like having to change your mentality or lean into the things you don't like. Like, the whole idea of being like, I actually am going to play a Grey Pack because I need to, because I otherwise someone else will play the Grey Pact and will not have the social graces to like not play the card, you know? And I know like it kind of also comes down to like the whole like, well, people shouldn't have to be socially bullied into not playing these cards or whatever. But I just think that's so interesting. Like, there was shoot. Okay, let's talk about Legendary Creature Podcast for a little bit on like one of the recent episodes. And I can't remember if it was the Athreos Precon episode or it was like the review recently. And I think maybe it was the review, because it was they were talking about, I don't know. Andy mentioned morality. Like, if you play this card or you play this commander, you know, your morality is skewed. People, we play commander, and as commander players, we have more of an emotional response than a logical response
Mm-hmm.
to game actions and
For
cards.
sure, Zeus.
And as part of the emotional response, for better or worse, we attribute certain strategies, the strategy of choice, mileage may vary depending on who you are or what you've encountered in your Magic career. You may assign a morality to a certain type of strategy or line of gameplay or whatever.
Mm.
I'm guilty of that. Because it comes down to what Donnie of the MTG Filthy Casual say about, intent, about
Yeah,
how
he
you
is
like build
always
your
saying
deck.
intent matters.
And so if you want to be an absolute piece of shit scumbag troll and lean into every strong Magic the Gathering card that you can singly cram into a deck, play your 5-color nonsense Joda deck. I don't give a fuck. Who cares? You're going to play all the good banger cards, and that's the only thing you're going to do because fundamentally, you do really like all those good banger cards. And I understand that. I understand wanting to play the things you like. But at the same time, there's always going to be that dissonance between what you want to play and what the opponent wants to play, and the sort of quote unquote mental morality that you've assigned to some of these cards. Like, I own one Rhystic Study, and outside of the fact that it does have the Teresi Nielsen art, which I would love to get rid of or swap it out for something else, I don't play that Rhystic Study because I don't like Rhystic Study.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not even getting into, like, again, the Grave Pact or Dictate of Erebos and all that other stuff. I want to cultivate a particular game experience and find people that matches that weird, amorphous, quote-unquote sense of fairness that I want. Where if we sit down in a pot of 4 and we have a back and forth where at the end of the game we feel satisfied because we felt like we were challenged within the context of the mid-smoking that we're looking for, then it feels good. When we get to not even turn 5 and everyone's dead because one person peeled ahead for playing the best of the best cards that you can conceivably think of, doesn't feel good. Doesn't feel great,
Mm. It really
and
is.
in this case, where it's the fact that you take more and more elements of the people outside of the game, where you can't be like, hey there, big guy, you don't want to come my way. And then be like, well, no, I obviously have to. And you're like, dang it, foiled again. You can't even, you can type that, and that's still not going to have the same emotional, or like, it's not going to have that voluntary feedback of it, you at least talking to a human being with your voice,
Mm-hmm.
So it's so very interesting how people have, like, depending on, what if, like you said, if you're at 3 a.m. and you just got time to burn until you go back to bed or whatever, just go on MTGO, play it, win or lose the game, log off, go back to bed, right?
Mm-hmm.
What if the person on the other end, they can't really go out and play Magic because they're in the middle of wherever, no LGS to speak of, they got to get their Magic in, but at the same time, they also don't have their friends hand on shoulder, maybe you shouldn't play like that, They just, they can go off the chain however they want to play. And I guess that's kind of where, like, when it comes to the 1v1s on Arena Brawl and it comes to, like, MTGO, people just don't feel the need to have the same social graces
Mm-hmm.
to think about, And to me, that just sounds like absolute nightmare city for me. Because I would, the concept, the idea, because, like, I'm kind of hijacking this whole thing. Like, I've taken apart a bunch of decks, and a lot of those decks, like Neheb the Eternal, for example,
Mm-hmm.
is a fundamentally powerful deck. But it's a deck I really do enjoy playing, but I also know that I need the right environment to play it. And if I don't have that environment, I'm keeping Neheb on the shelf. And that's the same thing with, like, Zakama and probably a handful of other cards, because it's just the gameplay expectations that deck sets is very different than what I traditionally try and do and where I want to play at.
Mm-hmm.
If I need to, I can then take those decks off the shelf to necessarily, like, to meet the needs of the pod. But I don't want to be the one to set the precedent, and I don't want to be the one to rise the occasion if I don't have to. Like, some people are like, I'm playing to win at all times, even in casual. And I'm like, okay, I mean, I also, like, try to play to win, but I guess, like, the difference between you and me is you're trying to gun for first, and, like, if I get third place, I'm okay with that, and third place bronze medal still pretty fucking good. But I don't know.
Yeah, it's just about finding like-minded gamers and meeting them where they're at, or if they're like not where you are and would like to be where you are, helping them get to where you are, so that you can have the kind of games that you're looking for together. In my case, in my paper experiences, I have people that I can talk to about the kinds of games that we're looking for, and we can curate those experiences thusly. But online, you can't do as much of that, so you just have to build differently. And it's like evaluating the situation, whether or not you can like change your deck building or whatever, and just like moving like that. You will have more satisfying games if you're matching the power levels of the gamers that you're playing with.
Yeah. And it kind of goes. The mind line of thinking is, though, if you are the type of person that is capable of having multiple decks, whether that's like 3 to 5 to 10, or be crazy like me and have like 38 decks, have the deck diversity to be able to adjust where you need to. But I don't mean like, I mean, who knows, maybe having a CDH deck on hand wouldn't be too bad of an idea or whatever. But
yeah, go for it.
If you don't want to, you don't feel the need to, there's also the times where if you're not able to meet the other person part way, it's also just okay. Sometimes it's shitty, but it's okay to just say, I don't think we're going to have a good game, and you can just walk away from that, So, like, if someone's fucking you over on MTGO, you can just hit the fucking escape button and get the fuck out of there. Just fucking hit the power button on your computer. I'm going back to sleep. Fuck this.
Yeah, a player can concede at any time. Like, you should, like you do in paper, try to see most games through, but sometimes the writing is on the wall and you can have that discussion in game. Hey, this looks pretty over. We good to move on here? Yep. All right, GG's.
Yeah. It's the gathering, after all. But yeah, damn, MTGO, truly the old west of Commander.
Yeah. Give it a try sometime.
God, if I do it, that Audric Stacks deck might be real.
It might.
I don't know if I'm ready. I don't know if I'm ready for it.
Yeah, I don't know if you need that. I don't come across stacks very often. I guess every once in a while I do find a deck that I wish I had a Deafening Silence against, though, Lamau.
Understandable, yeah. Who knows, maybe you could make... oh, wait, they don't have the Transformers cards on there, do they?
I think they do, actually. I'd have to double check, but...
Make Ultra Magnus.
Yeah, I might. Ultra Magnus aggro stacks. We out here.
Awesome.
Damn,
yeah. That's, hey, you know what? Considering that it's been a hot minute since we've had why am I suddenly blanking? A soapbox. Pretty nice comeback. Very lengthy. Very, very nice. I like that.
Yeah, I don't know. When I hop on the soapbox, I try to make it worth climbing up there.
Damn, I got my work cut out for me next time. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, let's wrap it up, huh?
Yeah, we'll tell the folks where they can find us. We're both on Blue Sky now. I think Cole's at, are you Uncommon CMDR MTG?
I'm thinking about a rebrand, but I don't know. I've done it once already, so I think it's just going to be Uncommon CMDR on Blue Sky, and yeah, I'm on lockdown over on Twitter until I can figure out.
Change your fucking handle to @Bloodrick Guy.
That'll be pretty. You know what? Shit, I might do it.
Oh shit.
I might. Much to think about. Fuck. I get. Yeah, I can do it. I can fucking do it. And then of course, Girl Dick Energy for you. HBVC _MTG on Twitter. HBVC hyphen and MTG over on Blue Sky, because I don't know why they can't do an underscore, but that's none of my business. I don't run that website. On YouTube, and also where other podcasts are available. If you're listening in, we are hosting over on MTG Lexicon, the dive bar of EDH, on Saturdays. I've been super fucking busy lately, so sometimes I'm just like, Lenny's like, I'm here, and I'm like, fuck, I'm out. Dang it. So we're stuff's going on over there. We got games every Saturday, trying to run the stream machine, trying to get games in with friends and our other co-hosts, and getting up to no good, quite frankly.
Oh yeah, some absolute debauchery happening over there.
I ran this stream for the first time with my hand on the wheel and a margarita in the other hand, and don't do that.
Well, you didn't crash us into the sun, so we'll jot that down as a success.
And yeah, good lengthy episode, Quinn. We've done it again.
Yeah, enjoy that one, gamers. Let's get out of here. Later, gamers.